Hey everybody, and welcome back to another blood pumping video, more exciting than taking 2 adrenaline shots to each arm and like 1 to the forehead. You know the drill. Anyways, what you're looking at right now, what a weird intro. What you're looking at right now is a render of a shot that I was working on last night, and the first thing you're probably gonna notice, other than, wow, that looks super cool, you made a 3D model of your room and, right in front of the desk, here you're sitting recording. Other than that, the first thing you're gonna notice is it's looking super splotchy, okay? I didn't want it to be this way. I rendered with cycles, I used the denoiser, but I only had a single night to render, so I had to keep the sample count low, right? I have a deadline, whatever. Now, ideally, I wish I could have rendered this faster with something like Eevee. Now, the reason I didn't render this with Eevee, as you can see right now, there's no global illumination, which means if we're using lighting that is like HDRI based or maybe emission texture based, none of it's gonna work. It literally needs to be spot lamps and stuff like that. So I want to render with Eevee. I want it to be fast, but it just doesn't have the global illumination until now. What you're looking at right now is also an Eevee render. That's very important to emphasize, but it has global illumination. More specifically, it has something called SSGI, which is screen space global illumination, which is kind of like global's illumination's really bad younger brother. It looks good, but there is a major issue to it. So I'm just going to show you what this is about, where you can download this, and what the takeaway is. So if you're looking at this frame right now, you're saying, oh, it looks pretty good, right? The issue with this is, yes, there's global illumination. We have like light reflecting and stuff like this. However, if I just turn to this wall, you can see it's almost as if the light has been turned off. If I look back at the window, you can see the global illumination comes back. And this is the perfect description of what screen space global illumination is. It is global illumination that only works when you're looking at the light source. In other words, it's in your screen. This is an issue because if I'm like to go to the beginning of this shot where this light comes up and it looks super cool and scenic, the moment this weird mannequin, I don't know why I have a mannequin light, but the moment this comes off screen, you can see the light goes away. So this is the sacrifice you pay for screen space global illumination. You need to make sure that your light source is always in shot, okay? With that out of the way, how do we do this? Is it actually good? Whatever, okay? So this is a different build of Blender, which is kind of weird, okay? Because screen space global illumination, this whole Eevee feature, has been an add-on for a while, right? You go to this page, I'll link it in the description, I guess. Screen space global illumination used to be an add-on for Eevee. However, now with the newer version that came out recently, I saw an Ask NK video and I'm like, you know what? I can do this better than him. I saw the Ask NK video is how I know about it. Great video. But recently, apparently, this has been updated so that it's no longer an add-on, but instead its own build of Blender. So you download this for free, or, if you're a good person, you'll, put in a price that isn't zero, but you download it for whatever price and you get this release build, right? This is its own build of Blender. You launch it here. So it's not really an add-on. It's like its own different branch, okay? You launch it and then you get this, okay? The main difference with this version of Eevee, in fact, pretty much the only difference is this button right here, Screen Space Ray Tracing, which I'm gonna make full screen. This is what is, the big difference here. So this is Eevee pretty much, as it was before. I guess the bloom is a bit different, right? There's no global illumination. You enable this and this is where the magic happens. So let's talk about some of these settings and then, we'll move on with our day. So enable screen space ray tracing. First thing is I enable refraction. I don't think it's that important here. These windows don't even have glass, I think they're just empty. But if you want to refract light and stuff like this, make sure to enable this. Half resolution tracing is basically saying, do you want to preview this at a faster mode? That's half resolution. I say, no, dude. I got this, not an add-on, this build to go away from this problem, okay? I want to see it in its full glory. Disable this. Edge fading is kind of like a vignetting for this effect, most notable if we were to crank this to 1. So you can see we have the global illumination, but not so much on the edges here, right? So this is the fading. I don't know if we can go above 1 or 0.5, I guess not. You want to keep this, I guess, low, maybe not 0, but you want it to be reaching the edges of the screen. Other things that are kind of interesting, trace precision. Do you want it to be precise? Yes, keep it at 1. Max roughness. Do you want like everything to be calculated? Yes, keep it at 1. Definition for this one, do not ray trace reflections for roughness above this value. Okay, basically this is a cutoff for what should and should not be calculated. If it's at 0, you can see we're not getting any of the interesting stuff on the floor. Bring it up, it looks better almost always. Thickness, don't worry. I mean, these are just things like, oh, is light going to leak through very thin walls and stuff like this? This is what this is for, okay? Final settings that are very kind of the only ones you're going to be touching other than these that you should just keep to like default values or values that make sense is diffuse settings. Okay, this is basically a mix slider. You can think about it that way. It's a factor, a mix slider for how intense this global illumination is. You can see we turn it off and it should be very similar to almost like disabling this. Not exactly, right? Like we get the reflection and all this. This is just the diffuse kind of pass, if you want to think about it that way. This is basically a mix slider. How incorporated do you want it to be? 1 is usually what you pick, but sometimes there is reason to go above 1 if you want it to be super bright and most of the lighting to be this screen space global illumination stuff, okay? That exists. Ray length, thickness, I'm just going to skip these. In fact, I'm thinking about it now. I'm going to skip all of these because I've used this in a couple shots and I don't mess with them. So I want it to be a practical guide. So these are the settings for screen space global illumination. Fine. Again, the issue with this, the reason that you cannot use this in production some of the time is that, again, it's screen space. You need to be looking at it. Like, for example, there's supposed to be a light source over here from the mannequin. You only get that incorporation. It's only going to add a bit of yellow to the wall when it's, you know, within view. Okay, so I don't want to hype it up like, you know, sorry ask NK, but you're like, oh, it's the best thing that's ever happened. Drop everything, download this, your problems are solved, uninstall cycles and all this. Like, no. Okay, it's good, it's not great, but for shots like this where, you know, most of it is doable, like maybe you could add in a light source that's on screen most of the time. This is a huge time saver, okay? Like the cycles shot from before, I think I even rendered it at a 720p and it was still that noisy. So that's just a thing. So whatever, if this is a thing that you care about, there's a link in the description for screen space global illumination. You just enable it, you move a couple sliders and, you know, that's the essence of it. No reason to stretch this into a 10-minute video unless I already accidentally did that. Anyways, hope you learned a thing. Not that much you could have learned other than this exists, but whatever. I'm looking forward to posting this CG Matter video where this shot's incorporated. So we'll get to that soon.